Hello, everyone. This is Logan Lockhart from the Sports Wrap, and welcome to the BarnBurner TV network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download both the BarnBurner and Zingo TV apps in the respective app store on iOS and Android devices. And why download? Make sure you rate and leave a comment. Remember, both apps are absolutely free. A welcome to you on this Monday, August 17th, 2020. A busy day in the world of sports. We finally have some NBA playoff action. We saw an overtime game for the first NBA playoff game, and the Raptor game just wrapping up here. A lot of talk about with this game. Kind of a tale of two halves, but fortunately for the Raptors, that wasn't the full story. They got off to a huge lead, and then in the third quarter, it kind of came unraveled. We'll get into all of that. Before I do, I got to remind you that Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, and Fire TV sticks. Roku and Roku sticks are also on all smart TVs 2016 and forward. As we speak right now, the Toronto Raptors have a 124-102 lead over the Brooklyn Nets in game one of the first round playoff series. Just about 3 minutes to go there. Toronto just about embarrassed Brooklyn off the floor in the first half. They had a 33-point lead at one point. It was looking pretty rough. If you said that this playoff series for the Raptors was just an extension of the regular season bubble games, that would have been fair to say. But Brooklyn fought back, and huge credit to the Nets here. The Nets are a team that can get lethal. If they get hot, they're a bit of a streaky team offensively, and they showed it in the third quarter. They cut the lead to 9. Think about this for a second. For a Raptors team who went 7-1 in the bubble, who had the toughest schedule at any team in the NBA, a good team, Toronto, great team. They had a 33-point lead in this one, and Brooklyn fought back and trimmed it to 9. It was looking at one point. Brooklyn's fight was so substantial that it was looking at one point that this was going to be a comeback in the ages. Now, again, the Raptors are just too much for Brooklyn to handle. Let's be honest about this one. For Brooklyn fans, it was nice while it lasted. Third quarter, it was really looking like the energy was picking up. It looked like we were going to have a game on our hands. And now here I am, and it's back to a 22-point lead for the Raptors. So, look, Raptors going to win this series unless there's a miracle in the works here. But this is a Raptors team that has historically struggled with the game ones. And I said earlier today, I said, look, yes, the history of game ones has been bad for the Raptors, but this isn't a normal year. You got to start off strong in this series. You can't use the excuses if you lost this game one. You can't have the excuse, well, we've always been bad in game ones. It's not a normal year. If you start giving Brooklyn confidence, especially this Brooklyn team, they're streaky, right? If you start giving them confidence early, you're going to be in trouble. So the Raptors took care of business in game one. It was looking a little rough at one point. Now it's 127-105 with 2 minutes left. So the Raptors are going to take game one. Again, the third quarter was this, whole frame that saw Brooklyn fight back. And again, huge credit to the Nets there, because it would have been so easy for them to just pack it in, say, let's get ready for game two. And they didn't. The first half was demoralizing for Brooklyn, but they didn't care. They came back and they fought back. Look, the Raptors, they put their foot down. Nick Nurse called the timeout late in that third quarter. They put their foot down. They said enough is enough. And in the fourth quarter, the Raptors just took control. So that's the story there. When we look at the other games in the NBA today, we saw a great game. Utah-Denver, which is going to be a great series anyway. And game one, just only confirmed that idea that it's going to be a great series. So they go to overtime there. And what we saw in that game was, just this whole thing with Utah fighting back. Denver, they are the better team. Denver's favored here, and they end up winning the game by 10. So no shock there. The only shock was, the fight that Utah really put up, and Utah's a good team. The Western Conference is so much more strong than the Eastern Conference. I feel like we've been saying that for years now, which we have, and it's true, but it's never been this bad. Just the difference in strength between the conferences, it's at another level at this point. There are teams who didn't even make the playoffs in the West that would beat playoff teams in the East. There's a problem when that happens. I'm not saying go 1-16. I know a lot of people want that, but I'm just telling you the facts. There's a big difference between these two conferences right now. And Brooklyn, look, they're a sub 500 team. Don't be jumping up and down. If you're a Raptors fan and you see the Raptors walking all over Brooklyn, don't be jumping up and down. It's not a true test. Now, I would be incredibly impressed with Toronto if they beat Boston in the next round. And I'm still going to stand by my prediction that the Celtics will beat Toronto. It's just something that I believe will happen. I'm not saying that based on that one regular season game they played in the bubble when the Celtics walked all over Toronto. They blew out the Raptors. I'm not saying it based on that. I've been saying it since before the restart. I just think that this is the year where the Raptors, their playoff success is going to come a little short, and the Celtics will be the team that ends it. Celtics got to beat Philadelphia first in the first round. That game one is just getting underway now. So again, there's 4 NBA playoff games. The Raptors and Nets was the second of 4. You have the Celtics and Sixers. And then the later game, the 2 and 7 seeds in the West, Clippers, Mavericks. A good series. Again, that just shows you how strong the Western Conference is. I mean, you have Dallas, who's a really good team, playing the Clippers in the first round. That tells you all you need to know right there about the difference in conferences here. So obviously the story in the market I'm in right now is the Toronto Raptors. Look, the title defense starts today. Credit to the Nets. This was looking, and I saw what people were saying, this was looking like a practice game. And the Nets at one point, they weren't scared of the defending champions. Let me just put it that way. And the Nets can get hot. I'm not quite sure that every game's going to be a blowout. It was looking at one point, if you looked at late in the second quarter, it was looking at one point that this would be a clean sweep. Every game would be a blowout. But that's not going to be the case, I think, with Brooklyn. I think they're going to put up a good fight here. Despite what the score says right now, game just is about to end. It's 134-110. It looks like a blowout, and it was. The Raptors completely wiped Brooklyn off the floor here in the first half. The second half was a bit of a different story, but Raptors took over in the fourth quarter. That's what the Raptors are going to do. The Raptors are resilient. They fight just as hard as Brooklyn did, and these are two hardworking teams. It's a shame for Brooklyn when you come that close to making such a comeback, and they were looking really good. But the Raptors, the turning point was at the end of that third quarter when they just put their foot down and said, the momentum stops here for the Nets. So that's game one. The Raptors got it in the books. Not a surprise. I took the Raptors in 5 before the series started. Still could happen. If you watch this game, you'd probably think it's going to be a sweep. But either way, gentleman's sweep or just clean sweep, who cares? The Raptors probably going to win the series. Now let me move on to hockey here. There's some games today. At the NHL, we're seeing a trend where teams that have had success recently, big teams, I'm talking big with size, but I'm talking Washington, St. Louis, these kind of teams, they're looking a little sluggish and they're getting outworked and they're losing. And I understand the Blues did win last night in overtime against Vancouver, but there's something about this bubble right now. If you're trying to point at a particular story that I think you can take from what we're seeing in the National Hockey League, it's just that the teams that have had a lot of successes of late, in the last 2 Stanley Cup champions, St. Louis and Washington, they're struggling. Vancouver, that's going to be some series. Vancouver was this close last night, taking a 3-0 lead. And the thing about St. Louis is that I don't know what it is right now, but they look slow. I'm not going to blame it on their size because St. Louis can skate, right? They show it in their playoff run last year. But the thing is, I just wonder, and I'm throwing this out there, are these teams, they're just not accustomed to this atmosphere. There's something about a team like Montreal or a team like Vancouver, a team like the Islanders, these teams that seem motivated and they seem as though they are, destined to do something in this bubble. And I don't know what it is. I bring up the idea of home ice advantage because, there really is no home ice advantage, right? There just isn't. So do you think there's an advantage for a team like Vancouver who's, played in Edmonton? Now, again, these are just ideas I'm throwing out there. Or a team like Montreal who's played a lot of hockey in Toronto. They know how that, the boards work. It's just things to think about because we're seeing a lot of surprises here. Tampa Bay won today 2-1 against the Blue Jackets. So they take a stranglehold on the series. Now it's 3-1. We know about Columbus, though. We know that they've seen adversity, throughout this playoff run. The fifth overtime, classic was just a footnote. Seeing what they went through against Toronto and to win that series, no one would be surprised if Columbus came back from 3-1. That's the kind of team Columbus is. I think you put any other team in Columbus's position, it'd be a bit shocking if you came back 3-1. But knowing the history of Columbus and knowing that they swept this Tampa team last year, I don't think anyone would be surprised. But they're on the brink of elimination right now. But we do know that Columbus has played incredibly well when, backs against the wall, that kind of mentality. They need to win. And here they are. So 3-1 there. We're going to see Boston and Carolina. Boston can do the same thing that Tampa did today. They can take a 3-1 lead in their series. Of course, the story over the weekend with the Bruins was Tuukka Rask leaving the bubble. This was something that came out of left field. This was shocking. For a player to leave in the middle of a playoff run, it really is big news. It got a lot of traction amongst major media. The fact that he's leaving the bubble, he's going to spend some time with his family. And again, under these circumstances, you got to respect anyone's decision. These aren't normal circumstances. If this was normal circumstances, I think a lot of questions got to come to Tuukka Rask. But it's not normal circumstances. They're in a bubble. It's a little weird. If the guy wants to spend time with his family, let him spend time with his family. I think that's just how you got to approach this. So I understand that, there was a lot of criticize Rask all you want, criticism towards him. I don't get it. I think that you got to respect anyone's decision here. We can't start flip-flopping. It doesn't matter whether you opt out a month ago or you opt out now. If you don't want to be in the bubble anymore, because again, this is a bubble. Okay, they're stuck in a bubble. And if you want to go spend time with your family, you have every right to do so. So I don't think we should be coming after players here, saying, why are you leaving your team? You know what? I bet you their teammates completely understand. That's just on a hinge here. I bet you that every single guy in that locker room understands Tuukka Rask's decision and respects it. And that's all that matters. The respect from his teammates is the only thing. It doesn't matter what I say, and I respect his decision too. But, if someone doesn't respect his decision, okay, I'm not going to name names. You know who I'm talking about. If you kept up with what's going on, if all the criticism coming towards Rask, they don't care about what those people say, right? It's but the respect from the teammates. And I'm on a hinge here, guaranteeing you that Boston Bruins players, they absolutely respect Tuukka Rask. It's his decision. He has every right to do that. So let's not come after the guy there. He can do anything he wants. They're in a bubble. Okay. This is not normal. But I'm getting sidetracked. The Avalanche are up 3-0 on the Coyotes right now. The Coyotes are really struggling to generate offense here. The Coyotes looked incredibly fast in that qualifying round against Nashville. And what they've shown against Colorado is that they can barely get the puck to the net. And, despite really keeping Colorado close in the first two games there, it's kind of going off the rails here, and Colorado might run away with this thing. 3-0 now. They can take a 3-1 lead as well. So what we're seeing in the National Hockey League is, hey, series are almost on the brink here, getting decided. That Vancouver-St. Louis series, which is a really good one. Game 4 is tonight. Another really good series. Dallas-Calgary. If you missed this game yesterday, you missed out because it was a great one. Okay, you have Dallas, who, they're kind of reminding me of Columbus right now. They just see adversity. Dallas has outplayed Calgary, in my estimation, every game in this series. It was a real shame that Dallas couldn't find the back of the net in game 3. And I was saying, and I'm covering this game for BarnBurner.ca, and I'm sitting there watching the game going, oh, man, if Dallas can't find the winning goal in OT here, it's going to be such a shame. They just pepper Cam Talbot. Talbot's standing on his head. He's the MVP for Calgary right now, but Dallas is outplaying Calgary. And Dallas is the better team. They've adapted to how Calgary plays. Yes, there's no Matthew Tkachuk right now, but that doesn't matter because Dallas has adapted. And that's what I was saying after game 1. I was saying that even before the series started. If Calgary can adapt to the physicality or excuse me, if Dallas can adapt to the physicality of Calgary, then Dallas is going to show that they're the better team and they're going to win some games. So now that series is tied. Joe Pavelski hat trick ties the game with 11 seconds left. It was wild. And Dallas found the winner in OT, and good for them because, again, they just outplayed Calgary. It was a real shame on Friday night when Dallas just couldn't score a goal and they're giving up shorthanded goals. Calgary is becoming a story of their penalty kill. Okay, Tobias Reeder has 3 goals in this playoffs for the Flames, and they're all shorthanded goals. That's a real threat on the penalty kill. He scored 6 shorthanded goals in his career in Edmonton alone. None of them as an Oiler, which angered a lot of Oilers fans yesterday. But I just got to say that with Calgary, they're going to hang tight with Dallas. This is going to be a good series. This one right now appears to be going 7. You can kind of sense when a series is on its way to going the distance. Flames, Stars, absolutely one of those series. Okay, let me move on to the Blue Jays here. It was a rough day for the Toronto Blue Jays yesterday. I mean, probably the roughest day of the year. They played a doubleheader, and we saw something that we haven't seen, in a very long time. But the second game of the doubleheader was only 7 innings, right? I mean, this is now a thing because, again, we're trying to shorten this season as best as we can. We're trying to get games over with. That's why we see the runner on second base to start extra innings. So that game went to extra innings anyway. So it ended in 8 innings. You would have no idea what was going on if you weren't aware of this and you just tuned into the Blue Jay game at one point. You'd be incredibly confused about what was going on. But that's besides the point. The point is that the Blue Jays were tough losses. They're in Baltimore. They're about to get going here in about 13 minutes. The thing about the Blue Jays right now is the fundamentals. Defense, I talked about this last week in that game against the Marlins, but I'll bring it up again. Fundamentals, little things. How many outs are there in the inning? Cutoff guys. Where's the play to? These little things, the fundamentals that you learn in your career early in the sport. And the Blue Jays right now are not putting it together. This is obvious. Charlie Montoyo knows this, and everyone's going to look at Teoscar Hernandez and what happened in right field, which it wasn't a good error. But you know what? With Teoscar, a little too casual, a little too nonchalant in the outfield, there were 2 outs in the final inning of that game. This is the second game of the doubleheader. First of all, you're way too casual on the ball. Now, I'm not sure, and this was a big debate after the game on all the Blue Jays postgame shows. There's a debate whether Teoscar even knew if this was the final inning, if there were 2 outs, because again, they only played 7 innings. So in Teoscar's mind, he's probably thinking, well, this isn't the final out of the game. We're only in inning 7, but the game was only 7 innings. So maybe he didn't know. On the postgame show, a few people said, hey, no, that's just how Teoscar Hernandez is. He's a very laid back guy. And that's meant as a compliment. He's a laid back guy who, very chilled. That's the word that they use. That's the word I'll use. Complimentary. It's a compliment. But in that case, you need to be more aware of the situation. So what happens in right field, if you missed it, he doesn't play the ball and then it goes off his glove and then he kicks it closer to center field. The Rays score the tying run. Now it's a tie game. And then in extra innings, the Rays hit a 2-run home run. And that's the game. And the Jays lose both of the doubleheader games. They could have, if they won both those games, they would have been 500. And we understand now that in a expanded postseason, if you're 500, you're probably in when 16 teams make the playoffs. And the Blue Jays right now are missing opportunities. And it's a real shame because when you miss opportunities based on defense and fundamentals and that kind of stuff, that's a real shame. Not cashing in runners in scoring position is one thing. When you don't do that, that hurts, but you're taking it to another level now when you don't have the fundamentals in order, the little things, right? Now, the Blue Jays are a young team. They're going to get it all together. This is a good Blue Jays team. I'm not here to say that they're a complete bottom dweller. We thought the Orioles would be bottom dwellers, and they're not, right? The Orioles are right in the playoff mix. Orioles have played incredibly well. Actually, if you look at their numbers, they are out hitting and outperforming teams like the Dodgers, the Astros especially. The Astros haven't played that great for their standards. The Orioles are right there. The Orioles are the shock of the league right now. And if you're a Blue Jays fan, you're going to get a good look at them in this series. This is a team that the Blue Jays haven't faced off yet against. The first of 10 games that they'll play against Baltimore here. And it's a 3-game set. Game at 7:30 today. Just got to say with the Blue Jays, this is a crucial series, because you have lost games against divisional opponents academically this year. Okay, your wins have not really come against division opponents. And you understand, everyone knows this is, this is not a secret. Okay, in a 60-game season, when you're playing, majority of your games against division opponents, just can't happen. You're not going to make the playoffs. It would be an incredible disappointment for the Blue Jays if you can't get into the playoffs here. That would be a much desired opportunity for the Blue Jays management to get these young players some playoff experience. You're being handed playoff experience here. That's what the MLB is basically telling you. 16 teams. Oh, hey, if you're the Toronto Blue Jays, you got to get in on that, right? I mean, they're giving you an opportunity to get some playoff experience, and that would be an unbelievable disappointment for the Toronto Blue Jays if you can't get in here right now. And I hate to be so negative here, but it's just reality. The Jays are 7-11 right now. You got to win this series, 2 out of 3 against Baltimore. You can't win 1 out of 3 here, because what you're doing essentially is, not only putting yourself behind a lot of teams, potentially even Boston, who can overtake you if you don't have a good series here, but what you're doing is handing wins to Baltimore, and Baltimore's they're going to start running away with their spot in the division, of course, behind the Yankees, and they're definitely going to solidify one of those playoff spots, right? The Blue Jays division, it's incredibly difficult right now, right? I mean, we thought that it would be a battle between, the Rays and Yankees at the top, and then the Red Sox and Blue Jays would kind of be fighting for a playoff spot, and then Baltimore, we won't even pay attention to Baltimore. Well, Baltimore's good this year. So now that puts a wrench in your plans. So if you're the Blue Jays, this is a key series, biggest series of the year thus far. Trade deadline's in about 12, 13 days. So you got to get going here. Big series. The encouraging part is that you're seeing some good pitching performances from Ryu, which is big and important, and you're going to need that from him, because if there's going to be a pitcher that can kind of carry you when things aren't going well, and a pitcher that can kind of keep you in games, it was going to be Ryu, and it appears that that's the case now. So that's encouraging. But I'm going to wrap it up with the bad news of the weekend for the Blue Jays. If you think that what I've said wasn't already the bad news, Bo Bichette will miss quite a long time in the standards of this shortened season. He was placed on the 10-day IL, and he'll miss, over, 10, 12 games. That's a big blow. That's the Blue Jays' best player this season. And this puts a big wrench in the Blue Jays' plan. So Blue Jays, Orioles today, 7:30, the first of 3 against Baltimore in a big series. Big series. I can't stress that enough. That is all for me on the Sports Wrap today. Please remember that this show can also be heard on the BarnBurner Radio Network and its 122 platforms. Please check us out at barnburner.ca for all the news. And by the way, my story on the Raptors will be up in just a moment, right after I get off air, about their Game 1 victory over the Brooklyn Nets today. So check that out, barnburner.ca. I will also cover the Blue Jay game tonight, so be sure to check that out as well. A lot going on in the world of sports, and we got you covered here at BarnBurner. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it. The next time I will see you is tomorrow at 6:30 for the Sports Wrap in the prime time slot. Again, Toronto Raptors, big win. It was looking like an embarrassment at one point. Brooklyn fought back, but the Raptors still win 134-110 to take Game 1. Thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. Until tomorrow, this is Logan Lockhart signing off.